to paper, a lost friend's letter. In darkness I travel, my eyes upon a house disheveled. Walking the halls, all the pain I see, paranoia and anxiety. Usher was telling me, paranoia rising, the house is hearing, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. I can't how it can be, the house the leaves it's possessing, books and songs to help calm, the words brought sounds from beyond. Mental illness growing thin, something's under his skin. What is he hearing? Paranoia rising, the house is listening, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. Plans not fair, we left her there, a tomb cold, but for her it could not hold. Paranoia rising, the house is listening, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. reaching a dismal height. A new cycle has begun, the collapse of kingdoms, a new world rising, politics colliding. The truth becoming a stranger, the mouth of a new era opening wider, a ceremony of innocence swallowed. Second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. An image, not one of holiness, a shared imagination, a symbolic revelation, a vision of darkness, a creature born from the chaos, a collective consciousness, brutal and godless. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. 2,000 years, the end of an era, history moves, it bends. When morals and spirituality become extinct to humanity, salvation hides where many won't seek, as an uncontrollable darkness swallows the world whole. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. The future looks grim from here to end, as darkness slithers in, up from your desert sand. A beast rises, a lion body ahead of a man, a soulless blank gaze, pitiless. An ancient power moving with purpose, showing no mercy, pushing itself into being. Cold, slow, and inevitable, birds flying in confusion as the ghostly remnants remain as echoes of the old world are left in. And prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, a warning. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, a good shepherd is he, the one that guides me. Though in darkness I find myself alone, I lack nothing, for my God above me his throne. All his love he has shown. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne. The silent storm of chaos follows close behind, but in him comfort I find. Still waters flow gently, reminding me, in him I find safety. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne. I don't walk alone, no matter where I go, on the highest mountain or the back alleyways. The Lord with me, he stays. He restores my soul, renewed, unbroken, his righteousness spoken. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne.
All right, folks, welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. Oh, man. Hold on 1 second.
Is it covering you?
Yeah, it's covering you.
Yeah.
Go back to me. There we go. All right. Oh. We got in late tonight. We weren't even going to do the show, but we didn't make the announcement that we weren't going to do it, so we decided to go ahead and do it. So I don't know how many people we're going to get in. People will watch the replay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so let's see. Will the chat get filled up here? How's everybody doing? Randy, Andres.
Rita Burnett, Amy Creel,
We ended up with a noise
all the
complaint.
OGs. Yeah, already.
Already a noise complaint. We had to try to rush and get it done. And it's ridiculous, man. You can't take a break for 2 seconds. It's always something. It's actually warm.
Yeah.
In
It's
November.
going to be warm for the
It's
next
hot
2-3
anyway.
days.
Yeah, what is the weather going to be like?
So I think it's going to rain on Wednesday, which will
Thank goodness.
drop the temperature. So, but today, tomorrow, Tuesday, high is 86 and 84. Wednesday, high is 82. And Thursday, it'll rain, drop it down to 76. So, yay.
We'll get down to 76.
76 degree
in November.
fall. Awesome.
Well, can't wait for that.
Then it's going to drop down to below freezing. We're not going to have fall.
I haven't had fall in the last couple of years. It's
Yeah.
gone straight from just burning up to cold as hell.
Mm-hmm.
We're lucky to be here. So we were on our way here, and I was on the phone with Nellie, And so I was kind of distracted talking to her, and I was sitting at the light, and the light turns green. And so I was sitting there talking to Nellie, and I didn't go right away.
Mm-hmm.
And two of them just blew through the red light, bigger than Dallas. And they were going fast.
Yeah, definitely over the speed limit.
One of them was a big vehicle, and it was going about 60 in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. And goodness gracious, dude, if it would have hit I'd be dead. It would have probably killed both of us, obliterated us. So, yeah, and I told Nellie, I was like, you have no idea. Just talking to her and distracted me.
Yeah.
Prayers for Nellie. She was in the hospital again on Friday night through Saturday morning. One of the things the doctors did say, and this hospital actually helped us better than the last one, and she's got another appointment on the 20th. So just keep praying. But they said that she's under a lot of stress and that she needs to de-stress. She cannot be continuing with the stress. And as many of you know, we've been under attack. And this is not some block and delete. Please quit saying block and delete. I'm so tired of hearing about that. If that was the way out, we would have already done it. This is not trolling. Okay. This is harassment and cyber stalking. This is what this is. I want to say thank you to the few people that reached out. There's a handful of people reached out to me this weekend, who did not know what was going on. But after being shown, I said, look, this is why this is happening. Take a look. Now they see it. It's a very simple thing. This is not two sides to every story. This is not there's right and wrong. That's what it is. This is not two sides to every story. There is that side that is doing what they're doing, and then there's the correct side. And the only thing we're doing is just taking what they say and reposting it in PRT News. If you want to know what's going on, go to PRT News. And look at the crazy stuff they're saying. Look at the people that you might be backing up because you don't know what all they're doing and saying. There were 5 people. 4 of them, one, I don't know what he did. He just disappeared. But the other 4 were all, hey, thanks for enlightening me. I had no clue. Like they really did not know what they were doing, what they were dealing with. 2 of them were over there, hey, what's up? It's not, they don't believe this crap that they're saying. They're trying to trick people into believing that there's this madness going on our side and that I owe them an apology. The only thing I owe an apology to is myself for ever being involved with any of them. They type up big old novels.
This huge paragraph.
And one of them has this revisionist thing she wrote this weekend. I'm sorry, sister, but that is not what happened. I asked this person for a simple piece of wood with our logo on it.
Yeah, a simple thing.
That was it. And
the machine does all the work.
When she started to talk about how the conversation, I was like, what? Like,
and you did that because she said that she needed money.
She needed money. I don't need a piece of wood. I mean, I was trying to be nice, and I don't, but some of these people, I don't know where their mind is at, folks. And I promise you, PRT does not operate like that. I feel the need to tell you this. At this point, it's legal now already. It's not, I'm not going to say these people's names. I'm just going to tell you that these people are unhinged. They are unhinged. When you take something like this to a lawyer and they look at it and they're just stunned, and then the question comes up like, you could have done this a long time. I know that's cease and desist were sent out to 3 of these people and they burned them and laughed at them and then continued carrying on like it was not. I'm telling you, folks, it's going to be Noah built the flood when he built the ark. They don't believe that it's going to rain. I'm telling you, they really don't. I'm going to rain on your parade. Believe me, it's going to happen. You're all going to have to answer for all this. This is not acceptable, folks. You cannot take, and they are attacking multiple people. And not everybody has the resources or the time to deal with this. There is a problem here in this community. And I'm telling you, man, these people, they want to be able to do this kind of crazy nonsense to anybody who aggravates them in any little way. And believe me, from what I've been talking to people, at least a handful of them they get aggravated very easy.
Mm-hmm.
They have gone after people in groups and cussed them out for the smallest little infraction. They have just gone completely steamrolled people and chased them out of the community, chased them out of groups, like what the one guy did to us, what L did to us. And thank God for Daryl Denton speaking up and saying something. Thank God to his moderators
Yeah.
for
Did
doing the right thing. And then they got smeared and attacked. Folks, I'm telling you, I'm going to stand here in this gap, and if it kills me, and it might kill me, folks, my blood pressure has been through the roof. I have been physically hurting. My wife has been in and out of the hospital, and the main thing this doctor said, look, besides the tumor and the things she's got to deal with, this stress is just, she can't go through this, and she is not going to stop. She's going to fight for us, but she's not the aggressor, folks. Don't let them lie to you and tell you that we are not the offenders. We have been defending ourselves, and we have been defending others in this community. And thank you, Chris Kramer, for speaking up, and Bettina, everybody coming forward, because these people are trying to turn and twist and change the narrative. No, sir. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. There is no reason for this. And the guy over there in Kentucky, I'm going to tell you this one more time. Stop threatening us, okay? You keep saying that we're threatening you, but you are making threats. You have made threat after threat after threat, okay? You were going to get your day. You said you would drive to Texas to come to court. Well, good luck, because that's where we're headed. Because I'm not taking any more crap from any of you psychos. This is over. It's done. You will face the judgment. You think that it's a joke. You think this is a big joke. Ha ha. You laugh right now while you can.
Have your little season.
I don't know if your blood sugar is just out there in outer space making you just do all these. But you know how many people have contacted me and said, what is this guy doing? What is wrong with this man? Pooping in cups and things like that. Folks, that is not what PRT is about. We are not about the drama. These people have brought it to us, and they've been doing it for 2-3 years now. And we have been defending ourselves and defending ourselves and defending ourselves. We sent out cease and desist because we didn't want to have to spend the money to go after these people. We didn't have it, and we didn't have the time. I don't have time. Folks, I'm a working man. I work every day. I work every day of my life. I work hard. And these people, the one in Oklahoma and the one in Kentucky, saying that they're going to take everything I own. You're going to take everything I have built? No, you're not. You're not going to take anything. You have gotten it completely wrong. You're not allowed to just go bananas and riot and just go crazy and do what you're doing and cyberstalk and harass and threaten and make up scenarios. Crazy damn scenarios. Scenarios of home invasions and kidnappings and all this other. What is wrong with you people? And this is an indictment of this community right here. Like, what is wrong with the community that they are allowed to do this? And then they do it to all these people, and everybody just has to sit back and take it because they're a bunch of crazy people. I don't give a crap if you get all of Congress on your side. You're not going to win this, because this is a battle of good versus evil. This is a battle of sanity versus insanity. And we're going to win. I promise you. PRT is winners. I've been a winner my whole life, and I've been a worker my whole life. I work. I don't sit back and not work and then just go crazy. And some of them are even dragging in their little kids to do and say things. Can you believe this? Their nephews and their daughters. Like, what is wrong with you people? I got a ton of nieces and nephews and whatever, little cousins and everything. I'm not going to go, hey, come here. Let's go. Let's talk bad about this person. Sing a song about this person while I poop in a cup.
It's the last thing I would want them involved with.
What is wrong with your brains? Do you have one? God dang. Here's how bad it was. I didn't even tell you. So I was interviewing this witness. What is today? Thursday. And she is not real into this community, whatever. And she asked me about this thing that's going on here. She says, this is the second time we've talked. Who are these people? And I just sent her, I said, here, look, take a look. And when she says, oh my gosh, She's like, are these people dangerous? I said, I don't know.
Normal people are repulsed by
I
it.
don't know, because you don't know what they're going to do. I don't think that they have the gas money to drive down here. You know? But I told her, I said, you will stay anonymous. And I'm telling everybody this, you don't have to show yourself. You can stay anonymous. Yeah, I mean, because they think that they're going to destroy us and hurt us and all of this crap. You're not going to win. I promise you, you're not going to win. You have done and said too much. It is too much. There is nobody in this world that's going to look at what you've done and said and say, yeah, you were justified in that. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. So-and-so. Yeah, you definitely should have done all that crap that you did and said, because that man, you know, he was the hammer of the Austin whatever, or whatever it is that he says it, you know. You have lost your freaking minds if you ever had them. And this community is going to know peace, folks, because I believe, and this is what I believe, when this is said and done, when it's over with, even if there's even, let's say hypothetically, there is no judgment against these people, they're going to have to pay for lawyers. They're going to have to take time out of their not so busy schedule of attacking us, shut up, and they're going to have to explain themselves. And this make-believe lying and all this other crap that y'all say that we're doing is that's not going to hold water, because you're going to sit up there and go, yes, Your Honor, yeah, they lied, and they said then they're going to ask for proof of this. And all you have is some one woman up there making videos and making assumptions with another crazy guy who's angry because he didn't get what he wanted from a woman or a man or both. I'm not even making a joke about that.
Literally cried about it.
Literally cried about it.
Even Mike said so.
So this is what we're dealing with. What is that? Boondocks? Yeah. And the police are just going to tell you it's a civil matter and that you need to take it to court. That's what they've told me many times. You know, whenever some's popped off. And this time, you know, it's going to happen. So folks, pray in earnest, because tomorrow and Tuesday and Wednesday, we have meetings. And pray that those meetings go well. I have a phone call tomorrow, but then I have a face-to-face meeting on Tuesday, and we are going. I am so stoked. You have no idea. This is a message to you, to the ops that are doing all of this nonsense. I hope you're watching. I know you are. Yeah. It's coming. You're going to have to deal with this. So, you know, you think that you're going to drive us away. You're going to take everything I own. You're not going to take anything I own, man. You think you're the first person that's told me they were going to kick my ass or they were going to do this or do that? You're not going to kick nothing, dude. And that dude in Kentucky, you can't even lift that sword. So shut up. You know you can't kick my ass, so stop talking. You can't kick Anthony's ass. You were in the hospital for months. You can't even kick your own ass. Can you even see? That's the problem you have. You are these are delusional people. You live in a comic book fantasy world.
Yeah.
That's what they do. You live with Aquaman and Daredevil. That's what you're doing. Well, guess what? Those people aren't real, but I am. And I'm right here in front of you. And once again, you're angry because you don't have what we have, because we worked for it. We built this ourselves with no help from you. And the nerve of these people, a coattail. When did I ever ride your coattails? No, brother. No, brother. You rode mine. And when I said, hey, the train is done, you had to get off, you became angry and spun out and have thrown the world's biggest temper tantrum since Caligula. But that's not free. No. Karma, it's like a credit card. You got to pay it back now, brother. You got to pay it back. And all of this craziness that you started up there in Oklahoma, Mr. You know who you are. Yeah. We did a giveaway on Halloween. You lied about it. Then you doubled down and you lied about the thing with your son. He collected donations for his son's birthday. And folks, his son has not seen a dime of it.
Nope.
We collected money for his son's birthday, and we gave him more than what we collected.
Yep. And got himself some really cool gifts.
And then you
for it.
went and said that we committed a crime and that we've kidnapped your son. No. Hashtag Hunter is home. Hashtag PRT did nothing wrong. Hashtag those, folks. Let's do that. Hashtag PRT did nothing wrong. Hashtag Hunter is home. How about that? Mark myself safe from the cosplayer of the LBL. Let's do that. How about that? Let's make that go viral. How about that? And when this is all said and done, you'll see this community will have peace finally, because these people that have caused all these problems, some of them are already gone and rooted out, but we're going to get down into the root and we're going to root the rest of them out, and they're going to be gone. You may not like me. You may not like what I say. You may not like what I stand for. You're welcome to leave. You don't have to be here. Nobody's got a gun to your head telling you to be here. But if you are here, haters included, you can't help but learn. You might learn something. You'll learn how to interview people, have discussions, have spirited debate, as you call it. You will learn how to retell a person's encounter. You will learn how to make it entertaining without lying. You will learn how to tell people's emotions and convey the message that they were trying to convey to me. You will learn that. And you will learn something about the nature of reality and these cryptids and all these things that people see that go bump in the night. I'm late here tonight because I had to work. We work constantly. We're always working. Didn't even get to eat supper, as we call it in the South. No supper. You're probably going like, well, he can stand to miss a few meals. So good for you. And no, Mr. Guy that was commenting on my workout, no, I am not powerlifting, or I wouldn't have been at Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is not where you go to power lift. Planet Fitness is where you go because it was right there, and I had 1 hour from my job to leave, had somebody watch it. The patrol watched it for an hour so I could go and work out, me and Anthony. And then we had to go back to work. Or me, Anthony, and Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Tony's working tonight, bless his heart. We're sick and tired. We're sick and tired of the bullcrap. Now, we may not get as many people in here tonight. Paula King, thank you so much for that donation. Donations have been in short supply lately. And I understand. I get it. The main thing that they don't like about us is the donations. Another thing they don't really like is just the live streams. So we kicked the idea around about killing the live streams. Why did we do that? Why did we do that? Why did we want to stop the live streams?
Because it's the main thing that they hate, and we're just tired of it.
Yeah. So I said, hey, you know what? If we stop doing the live streams, maybe we won't get attacked. Maybe they will leave us alone. Maybe we can finally get some peace. And you know what? We came to the consensus that we're not going to give you what you want just because a handful of nonsensical people are ranting and raving. These are the people that sit on the highway and block traffic. And everyone else has to be late from work or late getting home to their kids from work, because not only do you have to work all day, 8, 9, 10 hours, and then you have to go and go home and deal with nonsense people sitting in the middle of the highway. So we're not going to give these ranting and raving, rioting lunatics what they want. Now, we may cut back on a live stream a week, but that's for work reasons, not because you want us to. And I was like, this is crazy. Why would I stop doing something just because that's what they want? And if anybody knows me in my everyday life, they know that that's not me. And I have asked people in my everyday life, my really close friends and family, to please stay out of this, because these people are crazy. They are absolutely crazy. And when all the crazies find each other and then they start backing each other up with this spin cycle of lies, this is what you get. So you get an entire community being held hostage by a bunch of crazies. And folks, their main target is PRT, and their main target of PRT is me. You know why? Because I'm not going to take their shit. None of us are. And if they could just get PRT out of the way, just get them out of the way. If they would just go away, then we could just do so much bad.
Run rampant.
Run rampant on everybody else. Because if you think it'd end with me, you're crazy. You're crazy as they are.
You want the community to be their punching bag.
People that don't know these people from Adam, they don't know them at all. You show them what they say you've done. Do both sides, and then show them what they're doing. And people are like, what the freaking dude? People are just blown away. I showed my cousin. I said, take a look at this. He was like, that's why I don't even go to the city. He's just like, that's why I don't go. I could never do what you do because I couldn't handle that. That's crazy every day. And people love Nelly. People love Nelly. You better hope and pray nothing happens to Nelly. Because you won't stop. You won't leave her alone. And she's defending me. She's defending her husband. She's defending her nephews. She's defending her friends. Her and Maddie are very good friends, and they're going to back each other up. You're not going to get away with saying all the crap you say about them. They're going to go back at you. They're not going to sit here and take your crap. And a person who, I'm not even going to call you a has-been. You were a never were. You were a hack, and you play with swords that you're never going to use on anybody. Maybe some helpless, I don't know, but not me. You say you're going to drive to Texas? Yeah. Just the thought of it is just so ludicrous. Floor is open. If any one of you little maggots wants to come here and talk, go ahead and talk, and I'll let you say whatever you got to say. I'm saving my words for court. I hope you're ready. And you're when it's all handed down, you're going to be shocked at the way it comes down. You watch. You think you're not involved. You got yourself involved. If you ran over there and said a bunch of crap and you're on there, because it's being looked at and decided. And I'm not the ultimate decider. I'm not a lawyer. But you better hope that you weren't over there saying a bunch of crap and making threats and going crazy and you know, all that other, because if you said something that's not true, well, that's you, buddy. Don't talk about me. And we're going to set an example, folks, because I'm going to do this for PRT. I'm going to do it for the rest of the community. An example will be made. An example will be set that these people cannot do and say whatever the hell they come up and dream up in their minds. You are not allowed to sit there and slander and libel. Do you know what libel is? Do you even know what it is? Every time you write something you're not supposed to be writing, do you know what that is? Every time you say things you're not supposed to be saying, that's slander. You cannot do and say whatever you want to do about another person. Now, you can give your opinion, but unfortunately, that's not what y'all were doing. Y'all were just saying straight out, calling me a little B word, a little B word, and a little B word, and a little B word, and just kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on. And then you wake up every day and you run over there, and people think you look absolutely crazy. Normal people are looking at you and thinking, what is wrong with these people? The guy I talked to yesterday. Oh, holy crap. He was like, I left California to get away from this. You know, but I told him, I said, unfortunately, sir, this is, you know, he came at me first. He came at me and I said, look, man, you don't understand. And he says, what am I not understanding? I said, look at this. Holy crap. Gave him a day. Next morning, he's like, holy shit. Y'all have done a great job in just convincing everyone that you are in a lunatic asylum. You have a few little orbiters there who don't look at the truth. But that's a small minority, folks. So they are spreading their cancer around the community. But it will come to an end. We have the cure. It's going to happen. And PRT and all the other shows that they've targeted and all the other people that they've gone after are going to be vindicated. So thank you, folks, for tuning in. Thank you. We have 300 people now. Let's get started. That's my little message to you, to the people who are just rioting and going crazy. People are sick and tired of it, dude. Nobody wants to see you flinging poop at the cars going by anymore. Nobody wants to hear this anymore. People are sick and tired of it. So I had to address it because this weekend was especially foul. They were just pumping out massive quantities.
Oh, God.
I mean, each one of them just went on an absolute tear. But all that's doing, when you're caught in like a trap, you struggle, you just get more trapped. And they double down. And instead of apologizing and saying, hey, you know what, maybe we should have just, this is too much, you just keep doing it. And it gets worse and worse and worse. This is so easy now. There's not a, I'm telling you, man, I'm not even going to say it. You've jarred and pickled yourself. And you can take this and go show the judge and whatever. And I'm going to tell the judge, yeah, because look at what they did. This is exactly why I said what I said. Take a look. I'm not talking crap. I'm telling the truth. You cannot, in a civilized society, we still have laws and rules here. Okay. And you cannot just do and say about people whatever you want. You can't just dream up in your head and just go and blab it out. You can, technically. But that person's going to be like, that's not who I am, and that's not what I am. And you're saying things like there's a fact there. And it's not. You're making up lies that are just so crazy and so blatant. Yeah, I mean, dude.
Like Tasmanian devil spinouts, too.
Yeah. And the one lady, man, oh my gosh.
Oh, God.
The one guy's over there saying that we're sacrificing kids on Halloween. The other one's saying that I'm the Lady Bird Lake killer. And then, the one lady says that it's crazy, folks. I would do a rumble after this but it's going to come out and I don't want to mess anything up. All right. So let's just leave it alone. I won't say their names anymore. We don't need to say their names. They have done enough for them to themselves. Each one of them has done enough. They can talk big and bluster and all they want. Folks, I'm telling you, watch what happens. Y'all go ahead. Y'all be looking. You have crossed the line 1,000 times over. And I'm done getting insulted, my wife getting insulted, threatening Anthony and saying, and Anthony is not Godzilla or whoever the hell you think he is.
Yeah, like what the? I don't have any fake profiles.
We don't use fake profiles to attack anybody, okay? And from what I was told, that guy's going to be doing a rumble about y'all. He's a whole nother guy. There's like 10 people coming after you that I know probably half of those people that are going to be coming after you. And I'm not talking about coming, as far as I know, they're not coming after you in any physical way. Nobody's coming after you in any kind of physical way. Stop dreaming. You're not worth it to go to jail. Okay. I know I'm not, and I don't condone any violence or any sort of physical altercation. Now, if you come at me and you try that, I'm going to defend myself. But I know you won't, because you're cowards. I've offered many times for you to come on the show. Y'all can all come together in a big pack on the show, and we'll talk.
Legion.
Come as you are, Legion, and you throw all that you have to throw at us, and just me by my little old self, and I'll defend everything you say. I will point out the facts to everyone on this show. You won't do it. You're so scared. But you sit there and you say things, just constant things on your Facebook and on your YouTube. Come face us. Come face me. We can go to Rumble where you can throw everything out there. So after Wednesday, when I have the meeting, if the attorney says, hey, you know what, you can go ahead and make that Rumble and show all of their stuff or whatever, then we will do it. And you will see, and you will be astounded at the level of sick and stupidity and just absolute insanity and moronic behavior. But if they say, no, it's not a good idea, then we're not going to do it. But I don't understand why you would waste your time on a guy who has 45,000 subs. I mean, what are you getting out of this? I'm not the biggest, like they say, I'm a small fish and whatever. I'm not the biggest fish out here. I'm not no big dude. I mean, I'm not a big person in here in this. What is it that I have that you want?
Must be something.
Must be something that you really want of mine. Because you're always talking about it. You said that you're going to own my house. We're going to be living in houses that you own. That's what you keep saying. You're going to take this and you're going to take that. How? How, when you say all the things you've done and said? Yeah, Boondock, my energy, I guess. Maybe that's what that is. But you're not going to take that, and you're not going to take my listeners. They're not that stupid. Because if they were, then they wouldn't be my listeners, would they?
Yeah, y'all can have the stupid ones.
Yeah, you can have stupid people that just casually look and go, "Oh, go to the computer say." Yeah, that's good. Let them. Y'all can have them.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they'll say something, and I'm not going to say anything else. They'll say something, and then there'll be some person that doesn't know anything, and they're like, "God, that guy's horrible," because they're believing this.
Yeah.
What these people are saying, they believe this absolute just blasphemous lie, and they're like, "Oh, these people are horrible. They need to stop. Stop doing what? We demand an apology. Apology for what?" And I'm not going to say the guy's name. Another guy I talked to from Georgia, he hit the nail on the head. He was like, they have all these reasons and none of them are worth a shit. And I'm sitting there going like,
Yeah.
That is exactly what I've been saying, good sir. Thank you for having a brain. He's like, I ask him for proof and they just send me memes and a bunch of stuff that they are. And I'm like, this is crazy crap. This is crazy. So good luck with your case against me. Good luck with that. Let's see what happens. Let's throw down all the cards and let's see who wins. That you want to play Pokemon. All right, guys. Here we go. Anyways, we were talking the other night about this family out in California. Now, where we left off, we were talking about a woman named Melanie and her husband, Johnny. And Johnny or Melanie told me, she's like, you need to talk to, what was his name? Griffin. Or I'm sorry, Griffey. Griffey is the best friend of, there's a guy named Keith and a guy named Griffey. Those were the two that she said had horrible encounters there. So here's what happened. They went on a trip to Disneyland. And so the kids, she said Gary and Abby were like 11 and I think she was 11, he was 13. And so they went on a trip to Disneyland I think that's correct. And so they got robbed. Somebody came and broke into their house, but they think that it was somebody that had worked there seasonally because their dogs didn't react to these people that broke into the house, right? So follow what I'm going to say. This gets really weird and it gets creepy, okay? So growing up, there were two guys, Griffey and not Keith, I'm sorry, Kevin and Griffey. They were best friends with her son, Gary. And Gary, when he was a child, he had a lot of weird things happen. There was a birthday party, a 7th birthday party where they were there and Griffey went to the restroom because it's a big old house, and he went to the restroom by himself, and somebody was knocking on the door like they needed to get into the restroom. He was a 7-year-old. These were kids. They went to school with Gary. This is the sons of those of Melanie and Johnny. We've already talked about Melanie's mother-in-law. That's Johnny's mother, Bonnie, and her husband, and all of the things that happened to them, all the different crazy things that went on. And so Johnny's dad had a bunch of weird stuff happen. And his grandfather, who was very like, I don't want to say that he was like Claude was not, he was skeptical, but he knew that there was something that was going on, but his brother Jasper was very like, hey, he had all this, like he wrote things down and it was like in a journal, you know what I mean? And so whenever this situation, when it just trickled down on and on, This is a weird story. I have a ton of these stories from these. The younger generation has a whole bunch of stuff that happened there. So here's what happened. Gary's one of his best friends, Griffey, when he was little, he went to the restroom. Now Gary's, I think now he's 27 or something like that, and his sister's like 25. That's Abby. They're 2 years apart. So his little friend goes to the bathroom, and somebody's knocking on the door, and he's like, "I'm in here. I'm using the bathroom," And he's like, "I'll be out in a second." They just kept, and then they started turning the knob. So it kind of freaked him out. Well, this is an old house, right? And it had the little keyholes. You can look in there at the keyhole. And so he goes to wash his hands, and they just keep rapping on the door, not beating on it. Because I talked to this guy, and he said they weren't beating on the door. They were just kind of, bang, 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 kind of rapping on it, And here's the thing. He said he thought it was weird. A girlfriend of his told him, like the rapid succession of the beating on the door. He said it was in threes. Because she is really into the paranormal. And so she told him, she's like, well, now she's his fiance, but at the time they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But she said, how did it sound? He said it was like that. And he got really tired of it. And so before he opened the door, he started to get kind of afraid. And he goes, dude, I got really scared. He goes, and the bathroom got cold. He's like, and this was like late May. He goes, this I know, because he says, Gary, his birthday, they always have the best parties, right? And he said, we always go out there to the ranch, and it's always a good time. We have like all kinds of stuff we do. There's a big old pond we can all swim in, whatever. And the way that they set it up, he goes, it's really cool. He goes, they have like a ditch that they built for like a slide, and they can slide down into the pond. They put a tarp down in there, and they nail it down. And the water's not real deep, but the kids can go in there. And he said it's a great time. We've always had a lot of fun going there. It's like what they would call a redneck swimming pool, right?
Yeah.
And then they have this big bull riding thing where it's like an electronic bull where they go. He goes, and they had like this. They have these 2 trampolines. It's a fun time, and we're out there for the day. And some people stay the night, and he's like, and then we go out and we camp out in the middle of nowhere out there in the field, and we roast marshmallows. It's a great time. They have all this fun, right? So he's thinking about all the fun he's going to have. He says his parents, you get gifts going there. He's like, they really do it up, right? And it was his 7th birthday, Been best friends since kindergarten. They met each other when they were in kindergarten when they were 5 years old. So this is, and he said, I'm using the restroom, and I'm in the middle hallway restroom. I'm just getting scared. I'm like, I don't hear the party going on anymore.
Uh-oh.
And you remember how we talked about
pocket realities,
which seems to be a theme here. And he says that he's, going to open the door. He said, and there was like a voice that says, don't do it. So he pulled back, and he says, it's that inner voice. He said it was he called her Meemaw, his grandmother. He said, Meemaw told me. He says, Meemaw had just passed away 2 months before. He goes, I love my Meemaw. I was very close with her. She babysat me. She actually babysat him, Gary, and the other kid, Kevin. And he said that one of the things he remembers, like she was just there one day, and then she was just gone. But he said that it was a very sudden. It was a heart attack. It happened very suddenly. And he says she picked me up, and then all of a sudden she sat me down, and she says, I love you, right? And then she fell over. Oh. So it was very hard for him. But he said there was months where it felt like she was still around, and then she was gone. Now, I told him that there are certain beliefs of different cultures in the Levant where they believe that, people from the Middle East, they believe that the soul has 40 days and 40 nights to kind of get their affairs in order, and then they leave the earth. So, I told him, I said, there may be something to that, because there are some East Asian cultures and even some Eastern European cultures that believe that. Now, different Christianity, different Islam, they don't all believe the same. They all have their own little sect of what they believe. some are, and when you look at Jewish, Christian, and Muslim, they intertwine, but they all have their own little sections where they're like, yeah, this isn't really how we believe. This is how they believe. And I have seen, of all three of those major religions, I have seen two rabbis throw punches at the mall. Believe me, this has really happened. I was at a mosque one time, and we were doing security, and I saw two clerics shoving each other and pulling each other's robes. And I have witnessed Catholic priests, one of them throw water at another one. I don't know if it was holy or not, but yeah, at a Jamaica. And so, believe me, even from the same sect, it doesn't mean that they're going to agree.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. And I have seen them threaten each other. I've seen one guy throw a shoe at another guy. It gets out there, man. I've seen Mormons like threaten to go outside. We were playing ping pong at Brian Head. These two guys are Mormon. And one of them was like, oh, really? It's not what it says. Let's go outside. And I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. I had to go between these two, and I didn't even know them. They were two Mormons that same belief, but they were interpreting it differently. And one of them wanted to fight the other guy. And the other guy's like, this is not very Christian of you, not very Mormon of you, we're not like this. And the other guy's like, I don't care. You're an apostate. You're a this, you're a that, or whatever. He was calling them all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, heretic,
whatever. And I said, look, I'm over here trying to play ping pong, and it was just as well as getting my butt kicked anyway. I was like, yeah, I had $5 and my brother-in-law was destroying me. And we're like, hey, we don't know you. I didn't know a lot about his religion at that time. I was like 19. I'm like, but you guys you don't want to fight. You look like you're friends. And the guy goes, no, we're not friends. We're brothers. I'm like, wow. And you're going to take him outside and beat him up because he disagrees with interpretation. So maybe you believe that way. Maybe you don't, and that's fine. But I told him that, and he says, I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. Maybe. I just know that I felt my grandmother around me. And hold on one second. So here's what ends up happening. He ends up having to deal with this person. Hang on one second. Oh, dang it. All right, so here we got work calling. There's another noise. Gosh dang, the same people, man. And so here's what happened. He says, I felt her presence around me. He goes, and when I went to open that door, I heard a voice saying, don't do it. Don't do it. And so he goes, I pulled my hand away because I remember looking at my hand. He's like, I just held my hand. I held it so tight, my knuckles were turning white, and I was just like scared. I was scared. I was terrified. He goes, and I look over into the mirror, and when I look into the mirror, he goes, it looked like I was looking at another reality. For a split second, he goes, I saw like grass, I saw a tree, and I was like, what the heck? He goes, I'm 7 years old. He goes, I don't remember really any paranormal things before that other than something that happened in that house. He says, and so I turned back to the door and I heard the voice again, and it says, tell them to go away. And he says, I'm like, voice cracking, go away. And the voice said louder, and he says, go away. And then he heard bang on the door, and then the door opens on its own. And he realized the door wasn't even locked. And he's like, I walk out into the hallway and I look both ways. He goes, and when I look down at the end of the hallway where the back door, one of the back doors was, he's like, I could see the porch and I could see people kind of back there moving around. The party was mostly on the other side, but there were a few grown-ups back there. He's like, I see what looks like the shadow of something. I couldn't really make it out. And so I just ran back to where the party was. Years later, he goes, I would realize what that was. But that wouldn't be for some time. That wouldn't be for quite a while. So he said that, 10, 15 years later, he says it was, and this is what ended up happening. They were asked to house sit. So his mother, Melanie, felt very comfortable. She was very good friends with Griffey's mother and very good friends. Well, there was another boy too named Tyler, but this didn't involve him. This was Kevin. And she's like, I love those boys. They're like my second, third, and fourth sons. They all played ball together. They were just very close growing up. And she's like, they're still good friends to this day. They stayed in the community. Tyler moved away a couple towns over, but stayed close, and would come over for sleepovers and whatnot. And would even come over, they would come over after Christmas, everybody opens their gifts. They would show up Christmas, evening, not Christmas Eve, but the night of Christmas, and they would come over and they would play with each other's toys and, whatever, and ride four-wheelers, whatever they did. This guy, Griffey, I talked to him. He was very level-headed. He didn't talk all crazy, he just said, this is what happened to me. He said that he had a nightmare when he went home that night. He said a bunch of kids ended up staying there. He goes, but I felt sick to my stomach, and maybe I ate too much cake. I don't know what it was. He goes, but I felt sick, and I threw up. He's like, and I had to go home. My mom gave me Pepto-Bismol and told me you ate too much, cake and too much barbecue ribs, whatever. And he says, man, I'm a tall, skinny kid, but I could eat, and I would eat, and then my stomach would hurt, And so he says, I'm over there kicking myself because I was sick, and I was upset because a bunch of the kids stayed there and had a slumber party. And he said, of all the years that we went over there for that was the one I missed. That was the only one. And then he said, when I was little, when I was like 5, when I first met him, he goes, I didn't stay the night because I was scared. I was a little kid, he goes, but the next year I did. And then I missed when I was 7. He goes, and then it was just straight up like 10 years of just always being there. The thing that he did not know 100% about was what Gary and Abby were going through in that house. What they went through in that house and what they were going through on that land, on that property. They did not realize. And Griffey told me, he goes, I didn't know the extent of what was going on there. He said, it wasn't like Melanie and Johnny downplayed it. He goes, it was just, it didn't come up, He's like, there were some weird things. He goes, I remember the next weirdest thing that was scary. Now, he remembers a few little things, but we're going to gloss over them for now because there's so much. But he said, when I was 11 years old, he goes, there was something weird that happened. They have this hangar. And the hangar, it's like, it's where they put their tractors, stuff like that. He goes, but we had just kind of commandeered it, and they took the farm equipment out and they moved it out so we could set up stuff to play and hang out there, for a slumber party. And it was Abby's birthday, but everybody went out there for the birthday. So there were boys and girls there. And he said that we were having a great time. He goes, and we were out there and they had this air hockey table. And it's like, they didn't own the air hockey table. They had a friend in town that rented them out in the city, which is a big city. But he said that they rented them out. So they rented out all these different tables, and they had a pool table there, but he said they rented an air hockey table, big, cool one. Everybody was playing and it was like, you could have 2 people on each side, and he goes, and then they had a ball pit, all kinds of stuff. It was great. It was awesome. He's like, but I remember everybody had run out of the hangar and was going to go do something else or whatever. And it was just me and this other kid, and we were playing, and we were finishing up our game. And they had one of those claw machines where you could go and you could grab stuff, and it was free. Like, you just go up there and there's all these stuffed animals in there, and you could just go and grab one. And he says, that kid says, I'm going to go. And so he takes off, and he goes, I don't remember what we were doing. He goes, but I went over to the claw machine to try to get this stuffed animal. And it was like a Donkey Kong or whatever. He wanted to get it. He goes, I'm over there messing with it. He goes, and I hear what sounds like boots walking behind me, which is not unusual. This is a ranch after all. farm ranch, you know. And he says, I turn around to look to see what it was that was behind me. And he's like, and I saw this, what looked like a cowboy. He's like, but it wasn't, I could tell it was nobody from the party. It was nobody that was from there. I had never seen this man before. I don't know where he came from. I don't know who he was. He just walked up. He just walked up into the hangar and he just stood there. He goes, and he's like, he had these big old pointy boots, not the goofy elf boots people are talking, you know, but he said he had these big pointy boots and he was just standing with his hands on his hips. He goes, and he was just staring at me. And he was looking around the hangar like he was observing everything. And then he waved. And I waved too. And then he just turned and he went to go around the corner. And he goes, and I'm not joking. He says, Mr. Turner. And he called me Mr. Turner. He says, before he got to the out of range, you know, before he walked around the side of the building and was out of range, he disappeared. I mean, he like vanished. And he goes, I was stunned. Guy had a little feather in his hat, you know. And so later on, you know, he said it was months later. We were out there and I was helping them dig a fence, put in a fence post. He's like, and he's like, you know, and I'm out there with my dad and their dad's good friends with Johnny. And he says, Johnny, he says, you know, I saw they were talking about Johnny's grandfather, you know, who he was and how he was, the way he was and everything. And Johnny's mother was Bonnie, and Bonnie's father was Claude. And he was a very distinct looking gentleman. He dressed a certain way and he had a cowboy hat and he had a feather that he'd stuck in that hat and he would wear it sometimes, kind of kicked back sideways. And when they described it, he says, man, he goes, I'm a little kid, you know, he goes, I'm like, you know, maybe 12, 13. He's like, I remember, you know, just thinking, wait a minute. He goes, when I was like 11, he goes, I saw that guy. So he's like, Dad. And he says, I can't remember exactly how old I was. He goes, I know it was, you know, months or even years later. I think I was 12 is what he told me, maybe 13. He couldn't remember exactly, but he told me, he says, I remember that day. And we're out there and it's a nice, cool spring day. And he says, I saw that guy. And Johnny kind of sits up and he's like, you saw him? And he said, that's my grandpa. And he goes, yeah, he goes, I saw him. He's like, and he described him to a T. And Johnny was standing there looking at him and he was like, holy crap. And he looked at, you know, his friend who was, you know, they knew each other for a long time. And he said, that's got to be him. What was he doing? And he told them the whole story and how he had walked off. But he wasn't the first or the last person that would see Claude's ghost there. Jasper was seen many times sitting on the porch whenever people would be down by the creek or down by the pond. They would come walking up and they would see him sitting there. And he's like, then they would get closer and then he'd be gone. And he always had this jug with him because he would be pouring shots of moonshine. Funny guy. He didn't actually drink it out of the jug. He was more refined. He would pour it into a little glass, little mug. And he would drink it. And he didn't do it himself. He would get it from a guy down the road that made it. But, you know, according to Johnny, it could peel paint off the wall. It was like turpentine. And he said that it was a very nice way to grow up. That's what Griffey said. He goes, we had our ranch, you know, a few miles up the road. Wasn't nearly as big and nice as theirs, but it was nice the way we grew up. We all knew each other. If you needed something, he goes, there was a big storm came through there. He goes, and I remember I was 14 and we were all running around trying to get the cows, and, you know, and he goes, I remember going over there and haying the horses and the cows, you know, feeding them. He's like, and he goes, they grew a lot of hay that we would buy and everybody in the area would buy it. And, you know, he goes, and we'd go over there and we'd feed our cows and we'd just, you know, he's like, it was a pleasant way to grow up. He goes, but there were some weird things. And I'm going to tell you what happened. Now we'll go back to Gary, then we'll get into what happened to Griffey and Kevin when they watched that house. So there was a break-in, and they believed that it was somebody that knew them. And they didn't really take a whole lot. They just made a big mess and destroyed things and scattered things everywhere. Jewelry was scattered everywhere, but there was one thing that was taken. And this was really weird. It was something that belonged to Jasper. There was a necklace that he had found when he was living in one of the little A-frame houses next to the shanties. If y'all remember that episode, go back to these episodes here. They're the live stream, and you will see what I'm talking about. There was a house that Jasper would live in. That's where he saw these two werewolf, dogman, whatever they looked like, kind of creatures. There was a necklace that was found there, and it had this little diamond in the middle that spun around. It was very pretty. Excellent craftsmanship. And he said that, it looked like it was handmade. It was something that was probably made, maybe, 1800s. And Jasper kept that. He had given it to the woman that he loved, the Hungarian woman that ended up leaving him to go to San Jose, because of the way he was. He was the way he was. He drank a lot. He caused a lot of trouble. So he said, whenever he had that necklace, he kept it. He had given it to her. She gave it back to him when he went to go stay with her, and then he moved back after I think she left him or she passed away, I forgot. But he took it and he brought it back, but that was missing. They took an inventory. And Bonnie, still alive, she's still alive. She knows every bit of piece of jewelry of everything that belonged to those older generations. And she said that was gone, and there was an emerald ring. Those two things were taken. Why those two things were taken and everything else was ignored, I cannot tell you. I don't know. And neither does Bonnie, and neither does Melanie or Johnny. But after this particular incident, the dogs did nothing. They had 6, 7 dogs. And at any given time, this was Johnny's words to me. He says, we had 5, 6, 7 dogs maybe. That time, to give or take a dog or two, depends on when, at any given time. He says, and at least 3 of them at any given time would bite the hell out of you. These dogs were calm as Hindu cows. Not correct. He said, I always knew our place was spooked. I knew it was spooked. It was always weird. He's like, but this was ridiculous. Somebody just came up into our house and just took 2 things, and that was it. They didn't touch the guns, the coins. They had old coins, they said, that were going all the way back to the early 1800s that belonged to his great-grandfather. This was a generational place. It had gone back 5 generations. He said, why they didn't take all these other things, I don't know. Why did they just take that emerald ring? The emerald ring is interesting because it was found in the shanty. There was a small little emerald ring. They thought it was silver. It turned out to be white gold. And the necklace that was given to the Hungarian woman. That's odd. Why were they there to take that, nothing else? I was looking the other day at Facebook, and I noticed something. A friend of mine, you might have known him, he's Harley Owens, he's been on the show, and he had on his group about the people seeing Dogman and Bigfoot coming out of these portals because it's becoming more and more prevalent. The next fall, during the harvest and all this, he said that there was several workers that were there, and 2 of them being these Hispanic guys, Mexican. They came up and they told him, they said, hey, we witnessed something very odd right behind the house. He said right there behind the house, there was like this piece of pipe with the sprinkler, and they would come on so that the workers could go and they could wash up, and they had a little house, kind of like it was just like a hall, where they would eat. He goes, and we would feed them. He would feed the workers, and they could go and they could wash up their arms and hands and get, their hair cleaned, whatever, and just kind of go in there. And when the ranch was bigger at one time, he goes, I'm talking like at one time, they were leasing 1,000 acres on the other side. And they had almost 400 head of cattle all together. It was big. When his grandfather had it, he had really expanded, but it went a little too fast, and they started losing money when beef dropped. Now, beef prices, like right now, I think beef is really, what is it, like $24 a pound for like a ribeye or something? It's crazy. Beef is just nuts right now, or it was last week. Who knows this week? It's like up and down, like everything else. But he said his grandfather had a bunch, and so he sold a bunch of them. And they expanded, and then they were farming and ranching both. And he goes, and they were rolling. He goes, we were really rolling. And so he says we built this big hall. It was almost like a Viking hall, and you could go there and we even jokingly called it Valhalla. We jokingly called it that. So he goes, the ranchers were out there. There were a couple of them straggling behind, a couple of cowboys, and they were over there, and they were leaning over that PVC, washing their hands and head and everything. And he said that they witnessed something about 10 feet up in the air that looked green, and it just was like an oval shape, and it looked like an eye. What was so weird about it was they even saw it kind of like it blinked, like an upside down, sideways eye. And then they said, out of this eye plopped this orange, hairy creature. And it like looked around and then ran into the woods into the tree line. And they looked at each other and they were like, what the hell was that? Then they went and they told the ranch boss, and they told him, they said, hey, and they had a bunkhouse at that time. There was like 6, 7 guys that lived there. They were 2 of them. So this one guy, Fernando, he tells the ranch boss, he says, hey, we just saw, this, whatever. Now, lucky for them, they weren't too superstitious. They didn't run off because they were 2 really good ranch hands. But this ranch boss, he was bilingual, and he could understand them. And he was like, what? And they were like, no mentiras, no lying, for real. This is what we saw. And it scared the hell out of them, and they didn't even eat. Nobody misses dinner. They just went back to the bunkhouse. And then this ranch boss said that it was so weird. He goes, I walk into the bunk later, and one of them nearly shot me. He whipped his pistol out faster than Billy the Kid. He was like, dude, what the heck? And they were like, sorry, man, el monstro. They kept talking about it. Then the next day, one of them was like saying that he was feeling sick, and they thought, okay, he just doesn't want to go out to work. He's like, but then he goes outside into the front of the bunkhouse, and he vomits up like this weird, what looked like, the only way he could describe it was like, he's like, you remember back in the Nickelodeon, this is what
green slime?
Yeah. This is what Johnny was telling me this. He said it looked so weird. It was like green. He goes, and then the guy, some of his hair came out, and they thought, what is wrong with this guy? And the other guy reported like weird blisters on it. Thank you for that donation, Rita. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Generous of you.
You're a lifesaver. But then it was like he had like psoriasis almost. And then they both ended up getting that. But the other guy, he and his lips were real chapped. And so they went to the hospital. Get this. They went to the hospital in San Jose, and they told them that they had radiation sickness.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, what the freaking radiation? So these guys, they stayed on and they got better. They said it might have been a low dose of something, but they weren't very far from the portal. In fact, they were just 20 feet away from it. And the unsmart thing was Fernando had walked over there and touched the ground where this thing happened.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And he took his glove off and kind of felt that it was hot and kind of acidic. And he's the one that got the sickest. And the other guy just walked over to it and was standing there. And they were looking around because the creature had ran. And it had, here's the thing, too. They said it happened so fast. Like the thing just jumped out. And then it was like just seconds, and then they were like, it was gone. He said in the ranch hand that the guy that he had that was his ranch boss at that time, this guy, Robert, I think we might have talked about him before. Robert told him, he says, he goes, I'm going to tell you something, boss. He goes, I don't want to say anything. He goes, but this kind of looks like something, people have reported before. You remember that we talked about this, a guy seeing this almost like an orange creature that was in the stable, one of the stables. And he said that there was the cows had gotten sick. They were eating something out in the grass out there. And remember we talked about the green that was coming off of one of the cows, like he was glowing or whatever. Okay, so they got sick, and half the herd was not doing good. So they had to hay them all. Well, I'm going to tell you this: hay is not cheap. Okay, I mean it's cheap. It's not something you want to have to do all the time, And if you have to give them special feed, then it gets real expensive real quick. You want them to be able to graze. That's what you want. If you have to give them hay every day and you have to give them special like feed,
it's going to add up.
It adds up real quick. Believe me, I know, because I come from a cattle family. It's not something you're not looking forward to that, because you're going to, and everything you do, you lose money. You're losing money. So at the end, when you look at the books, how much did I pay to take care of my livestock as opposed to how much is going out that I'm getting for selling the livestock? And if you're doing that, you're going to be in the, you're going to be in the red. Trust me, you don't want that. So what you end up having is their dilemma. They said, we end up with this weird sickness that's going on. We're going to have to start feeding them, So they're riding out there on the four-wheelers and a couple of horseback, and they're doing what they got to do. And they see in the tree line this orangey black, as they called it. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming, this is what I'm thinking, and now I'm just assuming that the skin was black of this creature, but it was orange, And I know that this is the same creature that ended up having that Gary ended up encountering, But the way these guys described it, they just said it was orange and black. Now, I'm assuming that it is the same creature or same type of entity that was what Gary had encountered. But Gary's encounter did not involve it having black skin. He didn't say that. He said it was more like an ashen gray. These guys said it was black and orange, and they said it was furred. So black and orange furred. I mean, what is that? A Halloween creature? I'm not joking, but yeah, but it sounds very peculiar, to say the least. So whenever they take into account that this thing is up in a tree, whatever, one of them levels a rifle at it, pulls it right out of his saddle, and he just says, you know what? I'm going to take a shot at this thing. This thing stands up and makes this bellowing, my words, roar, the way it sounded. And this cowboy drops his gun, and then his horse is rearing up and going around in circles. And he has to get down off of his horse. And then by the time all this happens, they're like, it's gone. And so this happened a couple more times. They saw something that looked like this creature. It would be running through the tree line, or it would be moving around the ranch. It didn't attack the cattle. It didn't hurt any of their animals or any of their anything up to a certain point. And it was far enough away. The only two had gotten a good look at it was Fernando and the other. I don't know the other guy's name. Fernando, who was one of the foremen, he was like right-hand guy of the ranch boss, Robert. He's the one that got sick going over there, touching the ground and all that. And I mean, he didn't know any better. But he got a good look at it when it jumped out of that portal. And he says it had a snout, and its hair was down like it was like a person with long hair. It had a snout, grayish black, and the fur was, once again, orangey black. I guess what I'm thinking is like maybe the tips of the fur might have been darker and then there were lighter parts, or the tips might have been lighter and then darker. I don't know. It's something that Johnny never got a look at, but he did see like the aftermath of what this thing did. Now, I didn't do anything up to this point, right? So Johnny was just like, well, it is what it is, right? He says, my son was looking out the window. He was 8 years old. He goes, he was getting ready for baseball practice. And he goes, he was in there and he was, getting all of his stuff together, and he sees something walking across the field. When he sees this thing walking across the field, he said his son had gotten real into Bigfoot because they had that reader program at school where they had these books and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And his son had gotten a book from trading with somebody, a paperback. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think the book that he was talking about might have been somebody that we know that I think it was Lyle.
Oh, cool.
Because I think it was Boggy Creek is what he was talking about, because he was talking about, and he says, I can't remember the name of it. He's like, but I think he's talking about the Falk monster. And he said that he was sitting there and his son was talking to him about it. And he said, he goes, do you think that these things exist? Now, up to this point in his life, his son had heard some of the stories, but he said, we maybe sheltered him a little bit, to keep him from having to deal with the harsh reality of what was out there and where we were living. And we didn't want to tell him, hey, son, there's a boogeyman that runs around out there and, whatever. He'd already heard all the ghost stories, and there was a bunch of weird stuff that happened to Gary when he was little. Abby, too. But he said at this point, he goes, he was 8 years old. He wasn't, we weren't like telling him stories of Bigfoot and telling him, hey, son, there's a boogeyman out there, And his dad, he comes to his dad. He says, Dad, I got this book at school, and Johnny's going to get back with me on that. And I told him, I said, if you still got the book, tell him which one it was, whatever. And so it's an older book, and I don't know when Lyle started writing those books, so I don't know, but it sounded like it was about the Boggy Creek monster. And so yeah, and I mean that would have been not that long ago. I mean, I'm old now, I guess. So it would have been like 18, 19 years ago. So what is that? How many years? What year would that be? Like
19 years ago would be
2006. Yeah, 2006. So I don't know. I don't know when exactly when. I have all of Lyle's books. We give them away, but I don't know what years they were made. But I think it was about the Boggy Creek creature, Falk, whatever. So what ends up happening? He tells his dad, he goes, I saw this thing walking across the field. And his son had gotten into the whole Patterson-Gimlin, how the creature would move.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Dad, it walked like that. It looked like that. He said, but it was really light brown, light colored brown, almost orange. And Johnny was like, uh-oh. He said, whereabout was this? And he said, on the east side, there was this plowed field, and that was where they did a lot of their farming. Then he tells his son, he says, goes up to the window, he says, tell me where you saw it, son. He says, right where he was walking, He said, do you think it was Bigfoot? And he said his son had this, one of these single-eyed telescope. He was real into, like, he wanted to be a pirate, Yeah. And one year he had a birthday party when he was 6 years old. They had the little, so he had like this, He said, I looked at it through, my telescope, and it showed me its teeth. He said it was massive teeth. It was this big jaw. He goes, and it had this kind of like a muzzle. And Johnny's thinking, he asked me this. He goes, doesn't Bigfoot, don't he look more like an ape? I said, well, it depends. But this creature obviously was not some ape. He said this thing, the way my son described it, it looked very menacing. It wasn't like a giant orangutan. It had long arms, long legs, big, wide shoulders, a little bit of a pot belly. And he said that this thing was, it looked menacing. He said, and so his son tells him that the eyes were yellow. He could see the eyes. They were like reflecting off the sun. They were yellow. He said a few days later, he goes, I was out there with one of the mechanics, and they were working on one of the combines. He goes, and I had this mechanic out there, and I needed to get it done. He goes, and I needed to use it pretty soon. I was going to have it, And we were renting some of the land next to, or leasing some of the land next to us. And there was a bunch of acres out there, and we had to get it done, And he said, this guy was working overtime for me. He says, I go back out to the house, and I hear screaming, yelling, and I hear gunshots. This was a few days after what his son had seen. And he says he ran back out there to the air, he calls it an air. He goes, "This is like an aircraft, hangar." He says, and I'm going out there, and these two guys are just shaking. They're scared to death, and one of them's got a 45, and he's out there and he's shooting long colt at it, and he's just like, I don't know what to do, man. He goes, he goes, I know you had some pistols right here. I just grabbed one, and he goes, I saw something, and the other guy's like, I'll tell you what I saw. He goes, it was a monster. He's like, this thing came walking right up by the hangar and then went across. Well, Johnny says, okay, this is, you guys say this is what happened. Let's go. I got cameras. Let's go take a look at the cameras, right? So he goes over there and they go and they look at the cameras, and what he sees on the camera is just something white and ghostly. It kind of looks like and then it just goes across real quick and it's gone. These guys are looking at that camera and they're telling them, they're saying, that is not what I don't know what that is. That is not what we saw. And then they start talking about it to each other, and they're talking, and the guy says, I'm sorry, but we need to close the hangar. We'll finish the job, but you need to close this because there's something out there. There's something out there on two legs, and it's about 8 feet tall, and it looks like a freaking monster. I don't know what to call it. And so Johnny asked him straight up. He goes, well, did it look like a Bigfoot? He goes, how? I don't know what a Bigfoot looks like. The guy was just in complete, utter disbelief and kind of angry. He's like, I don't know what you got out here. He's like, Johnny, we've been friends for years, but I don't know what that was. Do you know anything? And Johnny, he says, I felt bad. He goes, I lied. I said, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. He just told him that.
Yeah.
He said, I just needed the combine fixed. So I told a little white lie. I told him, I don't know. He says, and then I just said, you know what? I don't know what this is. I got to get back to the house. I'll be back. And he runs back down to the house. He talks to his wife, tells Melanie, he says, these guys, they took a couple shots at something that was out there. And so we closed the hangar. We got it, and he's like, I don't know what to say to these people. And Melanie asked a question. She's like, do you believe him? He goes, I do believe him. And he says, because your son, he's like, Melanie's like, when he does something goofy or weird, he's my son, right? He says, your son, Gary, said he saw a Bigfoot walking across the field. It'd be about a good 100 yards away from the hangar, but, and she says, well, what do you believe? He goes, I don't know. I saw something on the camera, but it just looked like a quick white blur. That's not what they claim they saw. And we had a nickel for every time somebody told us that they saw something, and on camera it looks like a blur or something. And we've seen stuff. They'll show you and be like, well, it looked like this, and then it just looks like like one guy at the store. Remember, it looked like a white ball, going across the bottom of it, and
what they see is never what's on camera.
That's not what's on camera. That's the thing. People, you got to understand something, folks. What these people are seeing is not necessarily what is on the camera, which lends credence to the idea that this thing is not a flesh and blood. The Bible says that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but of the Spirit. It's very hard for people to understand this. They don't grasp this. Now, I don't think everything is a demon. I don't think everything is the Nephilim or whatever. I don't know what it is. It is. There's just things. But I can tell you this. I know that there was a woman out near Tyler, Texas, who was walking her dog on a trail. And she told me, she's from Tyler, Texas, but I met her years ago at a casino. And I gave her and her husband my card. And she messaged me probably about 2 weeks ago. And says, you don't know if you remember me. I met you at the casino. And she says, you gave me your card. And I was with Tony. It was me and Tony. We were having some drinks at the bar. And we were sitting, and D. It was me, D, and Tony. And we had some drinks, and this lady was talking to us. And she kind of got involved in our conversation I was having with the tribal cop. There was a tribal police officer there. We were talking. He had the weird encounter by the pawn shop with the thing that walked across the road. This lady gave me her card. She says, I saw what looked like a dust bunny a giant one, a big one, like kind of rolling across the trail. She's like, and then the next thing you know, the wind blows and it goes just off, to my left. Nice fall day back in 2019 or back in 2022. She's like, and it rolled. She said, and I met her in 2019 and it rolled away. And she's like, I didn't think nothing of it. She's like, but then as I'm on my return back, I walked another half a mile. I was coming back with my dog. She's like, and I looked there to my right, and there is this creature standing there. And she's like, and it was real brief. I saw it. It was white. The creature had white fur. She's like, and then I kind of blink, I look again, and there's this ball, like a white fur ball, just rolling. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not a real long encounter, but she
strange.
said she took off running, and her dog didn't even react. That's what's weird is sometimes these dogs will go ape shit, and, no pun intended.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're just like, they're not even like, I don't, that these things can trick them.
Like even the dog can't see them, but
yeah,
how?
We hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about these dogs getting so scared they pee themselves and they go up underneath the porch. We've gotten hundreds of reports of this, and then other times the dogs are just foaming at the mouth. They're chewing on the fence, trying to get out to try to do something to these things. What is it that now? If you're dealing with something like that, that's a hyper intelligent creature. I think if that was a completely flesh and blood creature, I think Fido would have been. I don't know the dog's name, but he would have been going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that thing was able to manipulate and hide and. I personally think that, exactly. Boondock's doing a lot of posting today. Different vibration, exactly. This thing is able to get on a different vibration, and the dog, it was not able to detect them. The movie Terminator,
mm-hmm.
where he said that they made these things so good that the dogs couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about that. That is a weird thing, and you sit there thinking they're it can mimic humans. I think that the earliest form, and this is going to sound crazy, and we'll talk about this tomorrow. I'm going to get into this tomorrow. But I think that one of the earliest forms of AI is reaching out from the past or from the future, depending on how you want to look at it, because time is a wheel, right? I think sociopaths who are trying to mimic human emotion and trying to pretend to be us. These empty vessels that Edgar Cayce says, they don't have souls. There's just an emptiness there. And he warns us too. He said, don't waste your time trying to teach these people anything. Don't waste your time trying to, focus on the ones that have the soul in their eyes, not the ones that are empty. So we'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit. We'll get more into it. I have a couple stories we're going to get into tomorrow before we do all of, or during or whenever we do the call-ins. People message and try to get on. I know what he's talking about. Because I think that these entities, they can do this. I think that they can manipulate us and they can emulate our environment. And they can take you, I think they can take you to these alternate realities, these pocket realities. One of the things that this woman said, and I thought it was quite interesting, she said there was no sound. Like she didn't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
And for a second there, she kind of thought that the woods and everything was just fake. Right? That's interesting. So back to our people at the ranch. So what ends up happening here at the ranch? Here is a crazy thing. You have this creature. This was the first time that the young boy, Gary, when he was young at that time, had seen it. Now he's in his mid to late 20s, but he sees this creature. And, well, I guess he's not in his mid 20s. He's 27 going on 28.
Mm-hmm.
That would
late
be
20s.
Late 20s. So he's in his late 20s now. And, when you see this thing and you start to go, okay, what if this creature came out of that portal And it brought like its own energy and its own environment with it, to where whenever it's walking around, wherever it's walking, that is like, in other words, they have a perimeter around them,
Uh-huh.
right? Because here's an interesting thing.
Like a sphere of influence.
Exactly. When these guys see this, one of the things on the camera that I was told by Johnny was that there was this kind of blurriness around it. There was almost like a rainbow prism around it. He talked to his son about it, and his son said, it is weird. There was kind of like a shininess around it, like it's carrying its own environment with it. That's interesting. And when you think about that, you think about all the people. Let's talk about Bigfoot for a second here. When people see Bigfoot, this cloaking, they'll see the cloaking. It's not just the creature, but it's almost like it's moving, it's ripping through space and time with this sort of vibrational cloak. And you hear about this. And then you're sitting there going like, what in the hell is that? What is that? That's the weirdness of it, right? And so you have all of these weird things happening here, but this creature in particular, a few months after that first, or a few weeks after that first sighting, Gary was in his room. He was playing with his toy. He was on the floor playing. He said, and it was him and his little sister. And they were just like kids do, whatever. We were playing a game, and then we started just, playing with figures and whatever. And she leaves the room. She's like, I'll be back. She went to go grab something out of her room. He says, and I hear something hit the window. It sounded like a pecan, like a nut or something, He's like, we have these trees, that my grandmother had planted, So I go out there and I'm thinking, what is that? And he goes, and I go out to the window and I look, and down there by the tree is this creature looking up at me. He goes, I could see it. He goes, and where are the eyes? He goes, what was so weird? He goes, I got a good look at it. He said they were not this orangey, yellow, whatever. He goes, they were black, and they were big. They were round, almond-like eyes, but they were completely black. You heard that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was weird. But he said they were completely blacked out. Freaking.
I'll go check.
I mean, there's nobody here.
Make sure it's fine.
But they were completely blacked out. He's like, and then the nose. He said the nose, it came down into like a snout. He goes, like a wolf-like snout. He goes, I'm not going to lie. It looked kind of like a werewolf, but the legs were straight up and down. They were not backward bent. He goes, I did some research. This kid did his research. He's like, I looked into Dogman and werewolves because my uncle had seen these things, my great uncle, Jasper. And he's like, my dad's uncle, great uncle, his grandfather's brother had seen these things. He said, and I remember, he goes, I remember them telling this story about these things, but this thing looked different than these other ones. And I said, well, you know why that is? It's because of the portals. These things are jumping in and out of portals. So what he saw may be related, but not the same. Also, there was this other entity that was seen. I say other entity because it was a dog-like creature, but it was on all fours, and it jumped up and was moving around. And, so you had this plethora of paranormal, right? He said, but this creature, I locked eyes with it, and I looked down at it. He goes, and it was kind of lanky, tall, thin. He's like, and it spoke to me in my mind. And I asked him, I said, what did it say to you, Gary? And he said, it said, let me in. He's like, and I made the biggest mistake of my life. I started talking back to this creature, and I said, for what? And it says, to be your friend. And then it told him, it says, there's a lot of evil out here. I'll protect you. And he says, okay. Then the thing vanished. Boy, big mistake. This thing masqueraded as something good. You know,
Mhm.
even though you look at it, you can clearly see that it's evil, deranged, not a good looking thing.
Well, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, exactly. But you still see it. And then it's like, oh, there's a lot of bad things out here. Let me protect you from the bad things. I'm the good guy, you know. And person that doesn't do their research or whatever, he's a kid. He doesn't know any better. So things like that, they take advantage of the uninformed, of the weak, of people who they don't know what they're dealing with. And so he's like, I'm an 8-year-old kid. I don't know any better. He goes, I don't, you know. And I told him, I said, I don't fault you for falling for it because it, you know, it sounds good. And, you know, of course, this creature just comes up and says, hey, I'm good. And you're just like, okay, yeah, you're good. You're the good guy. Why would it be so bold and tell you that? And he says, my sister comes back in the room and she immediately screams and runs out. He goes, I follow behind her down the hallway and I try to get her. And she's just like, there's a monster. There's a monster. It's right there by the closet. He didn't say in the closet, but by the closet. And he runs back and he looks. He didn't see anything. He's like, and then he goes, I see this blurry something or other move from the closet across my bed. You could see it, the bed in the indentation of something. And then it goes over the other side of the bed, and then you could see it disappear behind the bed. He goes, and you imagine my 8-year-old mind, it's broad daylight. He goes, but I'm terrified. He goes, I am not going to walk over there to the other side of that bed and look and see what the hell that is. He goes, so I'm like, who are you? What do you want? There's no noise, no sound, nothing. He goes, I ask again, who are you? What is this? He goes, and I knew in my heart what it was. It was this thing that was outside my house. Now it was inside. And he's like, and so I walk around the other side of the bed and something blurry kind of goes under the bed. And he's like, and I'm sitting there going like, oh my gosh. He's like, so now I got this thing, this creature, whatever it is, it's under my bed. He's like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, you want to talk about a restless night? He's like, whenever my parents came and told me to go to bed, I was terrified to tell them what I had done because I thought I was going to get in trouble, you know? He's like, and this thing is under my bed. So he goes, I go to sleep that night. He goes, our bedtime was 9:00, you know. You know, he goes, I'm laying there. He's like, and I finally start to go to sleep. He goes, I laid there for like 2 hours. He goes, I'll never forget. It was a school night, but it was a Thursday night. He goes, I always liked Thursday because I knew Friday was the next day. It was the only, you just got to go to school and you're off for the weekend. And he's like, it was almost midnight. He goes, I had a little clock there. I hear it ticking, tick, 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 like a little hand, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, and I'm looking up at it. I'm like, oh, and I can't sleep. He goes, and finally I start to drift off to sleep. He's like, and then I feel boom, boom, boom. 3 punches into my back from underneath the bed. He's like, and I just fly up off the bed. And then he made a joke, not my joke, but he said, like Linda Blair on The Exorcist, dude. He goes, dude, I flew up out of that bed. He goes, and I jumped up and I was standing straight up, dude. He goes, and I was holding my back. He goes, it didn't hurt terribly, but it got me, man. He goes, it was kind of like it punched me in my lower back and my kidneys. And I'm just like, he goes, I had this little chair, a little desk, you know, and I go and I sit down in the chair and I'm like, in the chair. He's like, and I'm like, going to look underneath the bed. He's like, and I'd yelled really loud, you know. And he goes, and I go to look under the bed, and then my mom opens the door. She's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he's like holding his chest, and he's like, you know, if 8-year-olds, they don't have heart attacks typically. He goes, but I thought I was going to. He's like, I was freaking freaked out, dude. He goes, and I ran and I hugged my mom, and I said, Mom, there's a monster. I let it in. I never should have done it. He goes, it tricked me. It said it was nice and that it was good and there were bad things doing things and all this or whatever. And his mother, she's like, well, let's go look under the bed. This is something that she had told me already, before he told me the same story. He was standing there as he watched Melanie go to the bed. And this was, I'll tell it from Melanie's perspective. She said that when she went over to the bed, she goes, you're not going to believe what I saw. I was like, try me. She says, I go over there and I look under the bed. She's like, and there were a few things. It was like some toys and some other little whatever. She's like, and it was kind of dark. And I was like, and so there was only the dim lamp on or whatever. So I said, you know what, let's get some light in here. So she goes, I'll be right back. And he's like, I'm going with you. And he goes out into the hallway. Then he hears like kind of a scratching noise under the bed. He goes, I was torn because I wanted to make sure that what it was ever there, wherever it went, I wanted to see where it went, but I didn't want to see it. And I think every kid has gone through that. Like, you want to know, but you don't really want to see it. And he goes, I'm over there in the hallway. I'm like, Mom, hurry up. It's moving. She grabs the flashlight. She runs back in there. The overhead light burned out. Like earlier, when he got up, he tried to turn the light on. Lights burned out. Wouldn't you know it? So all he has is his little lamp, right? So she gets the flashlight, goes to look under the bed, and she goes down and she's like, let's look together, huh? He's like, no, you do it. She goes, okay. She's like, I'm not really expecting to see anything. I'm just thinking I'm going to humor this child, and he's going to, there's no monsters here. Let's go to bed, and I'll come and check on you every now and then, Translation, I'm going to go to sleep, and hopefully you will too. In the morning, everything's fine. She looks under the bed. She goes, and the first thing I see is this weird looking hand. And it's holding this little Tonka truck. And she's like, what the heck is that? Then she's like, oh, it's a Halloween costume is what it is. She looks up at him and goes, it's a Halloween costume. She goes, so I reach under there to grab it. And this thing moves. And I could feel hair, fur, everything. And it pulled away. And I was like, she backs up. She's like, I nearly pissed myself. She goes, it was not a Halloween costume. And he's like, Mom, I'm scared. As he grabs, she's like, I picked him up. She's like, Gary's not a small kid at this point, She's like, I picked him up and I just was like, grabbed him and we ran out of the room. She goes, and when I did, I saw something crawling out from underneath the other side of that bed. When the head came up, she goes, it looked like a brownish, orangey furred creature. That's all I could tell you. She saw the ears. The ears were straight up and down like a wolf. She's like, and I just grabbed him and we ran out of there. And she's like, and I was screaming down the hallway and Johnny's not there. He's like in San Jose. And she's like, and I am just like, what am I doing? She's like, I knew there were people on the property, and she's like, about 50, 60 yards away, there's a bunkhouse. I could run over there. There's a few cowboys there. Maybe they could help me or something if I need to. But she's just like, I am terrified. She goes, I touched this thing. And here's the thing, too. When it pulled away, her hand was still there. She said kind of where the fingers would have been. Like, it's like everything disappeared. Like there was no more matter. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Oh. Yeah. And she said, I replayed it in my head 1,000 times. She goes, this thing was something else. And she said, over the coming months after that initial encounter, she would encounter this thing again and again. And this was what I would call, I would call Gary's nightmare, what began as his nightmare. And then ultimately Griffey and his friend, who ended up having to house sit, they had their own encounters with this thing and with something else in the house, because this thing, it went on for years with this thing. And I do believe that it was what he did when he said, oh yeah, okay, cool. Because when you let evil in, it doesn't just go away, folks. Okay. It builds a nest and it makes a home, and it can be, humans can do it too. There is human evil. And I'm dealing with that now. And when you let them in your life,
You can let them in, but you got to fight them out.
They don't just go away. Believe me, I let people into my life that I regret every day of my life ever having met these people. I wish that God could let me go back in time and never, ever having dealt with these people ever in any shape or form. Not knowing what they are or who they were, the way that you think, hey, you know, these are people, there's normal people, they're not. And there's always red flags and you ignore them. I know I did. And this is what happens. This demonic, whatever this thing was, it crawled out of this, well, it didn't crawl, but it came out of this portal. This thing got permission and then it just latched on and it would not let go under the pretense of being a good thing, wanting to help you. And look at what happens when, oh yeah, I'm going to help you. I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to, and then look what happens. A nightmare that you can't escape from. This nightmare becomes a reality. And then every day you're living that nightmare. I've lived in a haunted house. I know what it's like. I have been around these types of entities, and I'm going to tell you, man, it is not what this guy went through as a kid, though. And there again, it wasn't like every day. It wasn't like a demonic possession. It wasn't The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
He made the joke about Linda Blair, but you know, it wasn't every day, but it was quite a bit. And you're dealing with this all the time. And so, yeah, and that's, you know, you're sitting there and you're going like, this is something that you don't want to believe, but it is. It's a reality. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that. One of the things I got to tell you guys, because we're behind. We have a lot of other people's encounters and things we got to get to. At least part of this stuff we're going to talk about. And it's going to be a standalone episode on its own. So get your name in green, folks, because we're going to put that one on the members only, which is coming up on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about this, about at least, you know, I don't know if we can fit it all into an hour. We're going to try and do what we can about it. And it's mostly that particular episode is, like I said, it can stand alone. If you don't want to do it, don't do it, you know, but it's going to involve Griffey and Kevin, his two friends, Gary's friends, and what happened to them when they house sat there for that weekend. What ended up happening? Let's just say they made a bit of a mistake. They paid dearly for it, but that's what that episode is going to be about. So their part of this story is going to be on the members only on Thursday, and then we're going to get back and finish up with what happened to Gary. From the bottom of my heart, Gary, you know what this guy went through. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Because it just went on. And he was a kid. He was just a kid. And it doesn't seem fair, you know, like a kid gives permission to something that's evil, being completely ignorant as a child, you know, but still you have to, that's why, folks. And I didn't lecture Melanie and Johnny, but what I did tell them was this, and I'm going to tell you the same thing I told them. You have to plead the blood of Jesus over yourself, over your family, over your pets, and over all of your everything, your house, anything you own, your cars, your vehicles. Plead the blood of Christ over it all. The power that Christ gave us to combat these things, and teach your children at an early age about this. You don't got to scare the crap out of them. Go, hey, here's something that's going to come get you. You know, don't do all that. Don't scare them, but teach these children about the reality that these things are real. And that there is evil out there that is looking to devour. The devil comes to lie, kill, steal, and destroy. That's what he does. And he'll go after God's elect any way he can. And the innocent, the children, are the most vulnerable. And those are the people that have to be protected the most. And I'm going to tell you right now, adults are adults. They know what they do. You can figure it out. But children need to be protected, and you need to make sure that you pray with them every day, every night. I'm talking, if it was me, that's what I do. I prayed with my boys every night, every morning. I taught them to pray. I pray with my wife every night, every morning. You don't start a day without prayer. I have my own personal prayer that I do, then I pray with others. And this is what you've got to do. And this is, you also got to keep yourself grounded in the faith, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. So many times I've heard people tell me, I wanted to cry out to Christ, but this thing was going to get me if I did. I'm like, no, because it's going to get you because it's trying to stop you from crying out to Christ. And don't let the devil fool you into tricking you into who's bad and who's good. Pray for discernment. You'll know. The Holy Spirit is going to tell you. Okay? There's people running around saying all kinds of crazy things about us. All you got to, the proof is right there. If you're that dense, you can't even, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we had a guy come on our show who apologized for threatening to kill us. He threatened to kill us on Abe's show.
Yep.
And he said a bunch of horrible things about us. His name is James. I'll say his name. Very prosecutable offense, what he did. And then he came on the show and he admitted what he did and he apologized. He said all this kind of stuff. I'm sorry I did that. And guess what? Now he's back over there saying a bunch of crazy crap again, saying that we're Satanists and blah, blah, blah. If you can't discern between good, evil, whatever, stop drinking, stop doing drugs, and start praying and ask God to give you discernment. Because if you're not in your sound mind and you're not in your right spirit, then you're not going to know that you're not going to know you're up from down. So that's what you got to do. And then God will tell you who's good and who's bad. So, that is what we go through. What we're under right now is heavy, heavy spiritual oppression. I'm going to open up to you guys and I'm going to tell you something, tell you the truth. I had a meeting with my people this weekend about quitting the show. Not only did I want to quit the show, but I wanted to just leave. I just wanted to go. I wanted to move again somewhere where these people can't find us and just be gone away. I want away from these people. I believe they are very dangerous. And it is horrific to wake up every day to the crazy, unbelievable nonsense that these people come up with. And I said, if we quit doing the live streams and then I said, to heck with it. Let's just quit doing the show. And Anthony reminded me, we did that for almost 6 weeks and it didn't do anything. And in my personal opinion, this is my opinion, they don't just want the show gone. They don't just want us to quit the show. They want it completely off the air. They want us completely out of here and they want me dead because only crazy people who have been doing this for 2.5 years would do these kind of things for 2.5 years, and they wanted you dead. I have not physically hurt these people. I have not done any of this things to these people that you would think, oh, this guy must have done something horrible. No, I didn't. They make up crazy things about curses and whatever, but yet, let me show you something. Let me allow you to show you something here. This is the kind of stuff that they do. Now you tell me if you think this is a normal thing here. Look at that. Okay, class, welcome to Witchcraft 101. Today we're going to discuss visualization and how to manifest your desires. That's a picture of me behind bars. This guy that did that, and you just saw his name right there. He's one of their friends and he's in their group and they condone and everything he does and says. Read it again. Witchcraft 101. This is what they visualize. What they really want is for me to die. And I'm going to tell you this. This is the kind of stuff we're dealing with, folks. We are dealing with absolute crazy nonsense, just spiritual attack and a scale you couldn't even possibly have dreamed up. And then they bully and they bully and they bully, and then they turn around and say, we're bullying. Here's another one here. This is from, you guessed it, there he is right there, Mr. Yeah. And then he says there, he is an abuser of women, children, and his own wife. This is not a rumor or secondhand hearsay. My wife and I were personal witnesses to this man's psychosis for 8 long days. You literally cannot believe a word he says. Every word is carefully crafted to him by a grift for money. YouTube audience, this, blah, 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 blah. And you can see just by looking in his eyes that he is the devil. Look, this is what they do. This is what they do every day. Can you imagine, folks, being us? You wake up every day of your life, every day. Like I'm talking every day. And this man here is spinning out along with this other guy who is a self-proclaimed wizard. The woman that released all these videos for 24 videos in the month of October, if you can believe it, she is a self-proclaimed witch, says that she has a familiar named Jerome. This is the guy from Oklahoma's main squeeze, right? This is them right here. This is what they do. Can you imagine being us? This guy just said that I abused my wife. He even alluded to this. He says, the only one to do anything to Nellie is you. You're abusing her, whatever. When I went out of the hospital to make a video to call for prayer for her when she was in the hospital just recently, they said that I was a giant P word because I wasn't in there with her. Anthony was in there with her, and I was out there with Tony calling for people to pray.
Mm-hmm.
Then they say that she doesn't have a tumor, that it's all make-believe. I wish it was. I wish it was.
That'd be great.
And then the doctor says that she needs to be, left alone and whatever. These people ramp it up. And one of them, I'm just going to say her name straight out, Dana Ortega. You have some serious problems because her ranting and raving, the people that were looking at that this weekend, they were just like, holy crap, what is that?
Talking about bestiality and all kind of nasty, perverted.
I don't even want to get into. Don't
things.
talk about what they say. It's so bad. Don't even go into the. It goes beyond anything you could possibly imagine. And folks, we have screenshot after screenshot after screenshot. Go join PRT News and just take a look. They say that that's a horrible page and that we're doing all this bad stuff. No, we're not. All we're doing is reposting what they say. I personally am not the admin of that page. I don't have control over that page. My wife does. And I don't make memes. I don't have anything to do with that. And my hand to God, I don't make fake accounts or troll people. I don't do that. I don't have time for this crap. They have accused me of all of this, but I promise you, I am going to savor every minute of it in court. I'm going to savor every bit of them facing in court. You can't not say what you just did. You cannot undo that. Look at what you just posted on there. I am an abuser of women and children. This is spiritual warfare, and it's being fought all across this country, all across this land. You have a bunch of crazy people who are just going nuts, wanting to burn things and destroy things and sit in the middle of the road and act crazy. This is what me and my family are going through to bring you PRT. I did not want to do the show tonight. And thank God Anthony and Nellie pushed me to do it and said, look, you have people's encounters to tell. You have a commitment to these people. They gave you their story. Go tell it. Right?
Yeah.
I was on Saturday or Friday when I had the meeting with everybody. I was all in favor of just, you know what? It's not worth it. This is not worth it, dude. I just want to shut down social media. I don't want to be around. I don't want to hear anything about these people. I don't want to see any more screenshots of what these people do and say. I don't care what they say about me. But when you talk about my wife and she ends up in the hospital two times, once again, she was in the hospital this weekend. How many times she can't take much more of this? She's fighting these people, trying to stop them, trying to, fight off the whatever, because what they're doing is they're saying all these crazy things, and then we get attacked. We get crazy people who come out and say all kinds of crazy things. On my post on there, all I did was just say, I'll show you. This is what I go through, just so you know.
People we don't even know show up on your personal page.
People we don't know just come to my personal page, and it was this picture right here, that one there. And let me see if I can find it. This guy, I'm not going to say his name. Tried reaching out and talking to this guy and asking him why, and he just cussed me out, ranting and raving and just acting like an absolute lunatic. And I don't know this guy. But here it is. So he says here, suit can't cover up a chode. Pettiest human being I've ever seen from a mediocre podcast who thinks he's all that. I'm sure you have some bitching and protein bars to smack your big mouth on. Then he went and he began to argue and fight with a bunch of people on here. And then he goes to another one of our posts that was where I just said, here, look. This is what I said. All of your lies and slander will never stop PRT. Rant and rave all you want. It won't stop us. It's not going to, right? He goes back over to that one and starts talking crap. And then it got real interesting. He says, you kidding me? This is to Madeline, because Madeline said something. All they're doing is destroying what little, if any, credibility they have by acting so unhinged and blatantly lying. They're like a pack of shrieking monkeys flinging poop at anyone that won't join in their smear campaign. PRT has managed to put out so much quality content despite these ongoing attacks. In due time, this will be handled in the courts, and an example will be made out of these people showing that this type of harassment won't be tolerated. Before long, these men shall be left standing in the dust and the rubble of what was once their channels. It's true. He comes back and he says, you kidding me? This fat F has cred. What a laugh. He smacks his big lips more on candy bars than being interesting, just like what shot interview. This guy can't write. Interview with L.A. Marzulli talking about segregation, anything other than actual subject matter. Most boring interview I've ever seen. Had to turn the shit off and laugh. What a chode. And then he just goes on to fight with a bunch of people. And it just goes on and on and on. He says we live in a dream world where he thinks he's well received. The comments online prove otherwise, that his fat lips can't stop chomping and talking shit. Every podcast I've heard him, he's the whiny baby. Well, let me tell you something, buddy. Why am I the whiny baby? Because I'm getting attacked, and so is my family every day. Every day. If it was up to me, I could just come on here and just do the show and just live my life in peace. But I'm not being allowed to do that. But he gets his ass handed to him by a bunch of different people, and then he cries and says, oh, they doxed me. I don't know who did or what. He wouldn't tell me where or what it was. I think I might have found what he's talking about, and it was in some other – and it was somebody I don't know. Some name, somebody I don't know. But didn't even read the comment. It was just somebody randomly, I don't put up with that. If you're going to have something, you want to defend us or you want to say something, don't give out people's information. And don't say anything threatening. Don't say anything threatening. I know it's hard. I know it's hard because these people come out of the woodwork. This is just one guy. We got attacked by another guy who all's well that ends well. I ended up having an hour-long conversation with the guy, and he wanted to see the proof. I showed it to him. Then he was like, holy shit. I didn't know that. I did not know that. All I heard was one side. I said, I don't blame you, brother. You heard one side. And you thought this is the good guys. I don't blame him any more than I blame 8-year-old Gary for thinking that thing was friendly. Sometimes, even when you see it, you don't want to believe it. That's the problem. That's why it's important to be grounded and be covered by Christ. Because you don't want to be caught flat-footed mentally, physically, or spiritually. You don't want that. And I did nothing wrong to this guy. I did everything I could to try to talk to this man and try to give him, we had a private conversation. I tried to talk to this man and tell him, look, man, why are you attacking me? That's what I told him. And then he went on this long rant. I said, is there a reason why you were on the attack? This is what I said. He says, because you're a chode and you threatened and talked shit to my friends. There again, never threatened any of your friends, didn't talk shit to your friends. All I did was tell the truth. And then he says, your show sucks. Most boring effing garbage I've ever listened to. No one wants to listen to a cow chew cud on the air. And the way you do, enough said. Then he starts talking more. I voiced my option, which I think he's trying to say opinion. And if you don't like it, then I don't care. You and your little girlfriend fanboys, you think they're tough, talking shit, act tough, blah, 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 nothing, blah, blah, blah. And he goes on. Then he goes on to say that he is 12 years in the fire department and EMS. You are a first responder, man, and this is how you act. This is what you do? This is how you are? Then he goes on to talk crap about the Dallas Cowboys, which I just, what the freaking hell are you?
Any petty thing.
What are you talking about, dude? I mean, like Dak Prescott and all this other stuff. You know, it's just, the point being is this. We were attacked viciously all weekend long by a bunch of crazed maniacs who have part of the story because one of their friends says this and that. One of these people that attacked us and typed up this big old, you know, whatever it was, declaration, proclamation, whatever, just, it was crazy. She's a life coach. Who in the hell are you coaching about life when you're saying things like that and you're lying? Another one of these people that attacked us, not this weekend, but in the past, in the last 2 years, was a psychologist who showed pictures of her own patients cutting themselves. Who does that? We got the screenshots of her and Mr. So-and-so, I'm not going to say his name, up there in Oklahoma, talking back and forth about how they conned everybody and how they're going to continue to con everybody and how they're going to pin a home invasion that started out as a knock. And thank God for Wendy Guizdala coming clean and saying, hey, this is what happened. And they tried to pin a home invasion on me, Anthony, and Tony. And then they want to talk about a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Y'all have committed. The guy that I talked to this past weekend, he told me this. He said a lot of this stuff is prosecutable. He said, this isn't suable stuff. This is prosecutable. He goes, you need to go after these people criminally. So the first step will be to prosecute them. Before we prosecute them, they're going to get sued. So that then you could just lead into, the discovery will show the criminal acts. This is what my family is going through, folks. This is what I'm going through. This is what we go through every day of our lives, so that we can bring you PRT. Just so I can do my job here and tell you what I'm telling you. This is what I've been put through. They stick us through a meat grinder every day. And they say we're doing it for the money. Yeah, let's take a look here at the money. Yeah, we're not rolling in the dough here, folks. Okay, I can tell you that. We're not making a very good living if this is, because if I didn't have a normal job, then I wouldn't make it. This wouldn't do it. These people don't work. They don't work. They leech off the system, and then they get mad because y'all, what little shit we get, they're mad about it. And I've stood in the way from them attacking Blondes and Booze, BMR, Helbin Holler, Bettina, Abe. That's the problem, because I won't let them do it. And one of these guys is a menace to everybody he's ever been around in his whole life, in my opinion. And he's going after his ex-wife because she's given his son a good home. Let me tell you something, boy. Okay? Hunter is home. He is home. And you can take that to the bank. Okay? He is home. He is home. Hashtag PRT did nothing wrong, and you will never get an apology from me. I don't care if it was at gunpoint, you wouldn't get an apology to me. You couldn't come and put one to me. You wouldn't get an apology from me. There is no way you're ever going to get an apology from me from all the things that you've done and said. You've accused me of being a child beater or whatever that is, whatever the hell that crazy guy is talking about, and abusing my wife, which is an absolute lie. The only time I argued with my wife that whole trip was because of what y'all were doing. That's the only argument we had. I love my wife, and I've never raised my hand to my wife like you did in front of us. And you can deny it all you want. You did it. There are people willing to sign affidavits to that effect. And to other things that you did and said. So go on. Keep ranting and raving and acting like lunatics. The truth is coming out, as you say. It will definitely come out 100%. And if you think I'm afraid to sit there and face you in court, bring all the garbage you have that you've made up and all the bullshit in your little, connecting dots, because obviously when you were a kid, you never played connect the dots, and you probably didn't color in the lines either. Go ahead. Come with your big crayon papers and show, and let's compare apples to oranges. What you just did right there, that alone is enough to freaking sue your ass. So go ahead. Let's see who wins. You talk big and bad, and you talk a lot. Let's see what happens. Folks, I love you. I got to go because I got to go to work. Unlike these people, I actually have a job. So I'm already running late. But thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that the rant and raving, that we had to do wasn't too, that hopefully that it was tolerable. We have to go through hell to bring you this show, which is why this weekend I had to be talked out of quitting. Because to me, I don't know if it's worth it to me. I don't know if it's worth it. If you guys really love me, tell me you love me. If you don't, then tell me, hey, go to hell, get off the air, and let's just move on with our lives, and I'll go on and I'll do something more peaceful, like wrestle tigers or, be a prison guard. Or maybe join a gang.
Join the French Foreign Legion.
French Foreign Legion.
It's less abusive.
Go join the Russian army and go to Ukraine or vice versa or whatever. Because this is crazy. I'm dealing with a nightmare to bring you this show. I hope you understand that. And I'm going to fight tooth and nail because they said they're going to take our show. They're going to take my house. They're going to take everything I've ever worked for and I've ever built. With these hands, I built all of this. These people, you are not entitled to take what is mine and what I built. You don't have a right to anything I have. You want it, but you don't want to work for it. And that's why you think this is communism. Well, not yet, buddy. It might be someday, and you might be basking in the glow of starvation and be happy. I don't know. But until that day comes, you or the state aren't entitled to take what's mine. Go work for it. Get off your asses and go work. Do a show that's worth watching. Maybe it won't be so boring, and then maybe you will get something. Take the sunglasses off, stop smoking dope, and maybe you'll get something. But until then, you're going to be subpar. You won't even be second best. You're not even 172nd best. How about that? That's it. That's all I got to say. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. Thank you for everything. Good night. We're going to leave with Nellie's song here. Do we have the new one? I don't know if we have the new one.
Yeah, let me get it at it.
We have a new one she came out with. It's really good. She's amazing. And hopefully she'll be around and not something happen because these people just won't stop. Anything there's good, anybody that has something and is doing good, evil people got to go and try to kill it and destroy it. And that's what these people are doing. They're trying to kill and destroy. I can't wait. I can't wait to see them. You explain to the judge why you say things like that. You show, we'll talk about, you tell them. Give them your excuses why you did and said all those things. Show them the pooping in the cup. Show them all of your shenanigans. Let's see you do that. Because I've asked you many times to come on the show. Stop being cowards and come on the show. Meet me anywhere on any platform you want. Because God knows you ain't going to come and do it face to face. I know you ain't going to do nothing. You don't want to meet me. We have met you. We're not impressed. You don't scare me even a little bit. I raise my voice and you jump like a jackrabbit. You ain't nothing. You may think you're big. You may think you're smart, but you ain't nothing but a little fart. That's all you are. Playing with swords. We got some swords over here. You want to play with some swords? Some plastic He-Man swords? Go ahead, play it. Good night.
I don't remember. It was something coming through the door. The whispered tears, yours or mine, but pain it will only find. Wounds and wisdom, body and soul. A lifetime journey into the unknown, a broken crown, only to close my eyes, turning around. Slow motion death, a caravan of ghost stars falling as we watch the moon fade. Bones and wisdom, body and soul, a lifetime journey into the unknown, a broken crown. I feel the river water washing me, all the beautiful things can't be free. In the distance I see the sun clinging to the last day. Wounds and wisdom, body and soul, a lifetime journey into the unknown, a broken crown. No pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It was a beautiful war of flesh and bone against spirit and consciousness. The eternal you of memories in motion, to live once more and to die once more.